Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the movie Prisoners. This is just free thought. I'm just a person talking about a movie. It's not a professional film review or anything like that in any capacity. I don't know if anything I'm going to say is even going to be linear. I might get off topic. That's just how it works here. I am going to be spoiling this movie, the entire thing. So you might want to watch it before watching this. As of right now, it's on Netflix if you have that. It might be other places, but that's where I watched it on Netflix. I've seen this movie in bits and pieces, but tonight is when I like watched it from start to finish with like full mental, like all my capacities. Straight away, I think I would give this movie a solid 9 out of 10. It was a very good movie. It's like 100% everything I like about a movie. I mean, obviously not 100%. I couldn't give it a full 10. I guess I could give it a 10. I give it a 10 out of 10. It's a great movie. It has everything that I like to happen in a movie. One, it's really long. It's like over 2.5 hours, I think, or something like that. Fantastic. The actors, fantastic. The setting, great. It looks like it was shot on location in some places. That's a huge, huge thing for me. Sound design seemed good. Wasn't anything like super spectacular that stood out to me, but it was great. Story was great. The pacing was great. The pacing was frustrating in a realistic way, and I really liked that. At the end, I'm gonna go through the actors that stood out to me and tell you what I thought about them briefly. But yeah, this is like a mystery movie. Um, it's realistic but creepy. It's about the kidnapping of these two young girls, a black girl and a white girl. I really like that also because when I was watching the movie, I was wondering, I was like, oh, is it gonna be like one of those movies where, what is that? There's like this phenomenon that people were talking about in the last couple of years. I forgot what it is. Oh, white women syndrome, missing white women syndrome. I forgot what it's called, but I thought it was gonna be like, oh, is like, are they gonna like only be looking for the little white girl or something like that? But that wasn't it. They were like very much like equal. The families were friends. I even noticed, maybe I remember this correctly, but the black family, who was played by Terrence Howard and Viola Davis. Viola Davis can do no wrong in my eyes. But she was I think they had like a nicer home, but they lived like right down the street from each other. That's not something that's brought up in the movie in any way necessarily, but it's interesting detail that something I like to notice. I like to notice everything though, so yeah, but I what I liked about the story is it was kind of like I like how they connected everything. I didn't understand at first like how everybody was connected. And at first I thought it was like a cult, the whole like labyrinth thing. But then I realized like this is how it is. Like this old couple used to kidnap children. And they did that so that they could wage war against God. That's what the lady says. And I was like, what is she talking about? They're purposely trying to create like these terrible trauma induced situations to make people turn into demons. And it's actually super scary because that's something that I believe in. Like, I see it a lot in horror movies where, like possession films in general, a person who has weak will or blah, like who's going through a hard time. Those are the people who are most likely to be possessed. And I very strongly believe that that's how demons work, where they will, um, they'll go after people who are having the hardest times because those people may or may not be, or may not feel like they're far from God. So they're easier to attack and like lure. And it's not like when you're going through a hard time, you're like, huh, I think I'll go and join the dark side. It's not like people usually consciously make that decision, but it's their actions like that I feel like lead them away from like the source of light. Okay. All right. But so I thought that was an interesting concept because definitely, we see Hugh Jackman's character. He I don't want to say that he lost his mind because I feel like he did what he had to do. He might have taken his anger out on the wrong person, but for the longest time, because I had seen bits and pieces of this movie, I didn't remember the other things that happened. So Paul Dano, is that how you say his name? Paul Dano, who I love as an actor, right? Like he I thought that he's the villain all along. The only thing I could remember from this movie was that there was a car covering a hole. I was like, oh yeah, like he's acting like he doesn't know, he's playing a character, but at the end they're gonna reveal that he had the kids all along the hole. That's why he's been saying these taunting things like, oh, they weren't crying when I left or something like that. Anyways, so it turns out it wasn't him at all. He's actually a victim. Very terrible. you know? And in the end, if you really think about it, when Hugh Jackman is found in the hole, you know, or when when he ends up in the hole, like shot in the leg, you could say that that's his karma for torturing someone, a innocent person, a person who has their own trauma and you know, mental incapacities. And also, it's not even that; it's the rage. He let his rage consume him, you know, and he it's like that that is like the the agenda of like the old couple who kidnaps the children is so malicious. It's just on purpose, like cruelty. And that's what I like, because to me that is like realistic if we're talking about you know, spirituality like that. I feel like they don't have the same human like compassion that we do. So it's like they want to cause as much torment as possible. But what I did like, I like the times where Hugh Jackman was praying. It stood out to me because I was like, oh, you know, I didn't even know that he believed in God. Because like it was like Paul Dano was in that makeshift um, shower cell or whatever, getting blasted with hot water, and he was gonna do it again, but then Paul Dano was like, oh, something, he was supposed to meet me there, you know, we were just playing or something like that, something about a maze, right? And Hugh Jackman is trying to get him to say more, and he's like, before he does the water again, he starts to pray, you know? And I was like, oh, you know, because he was tempted to turn it on, but then it's something that stopped him, you know what I mean? I forgot what happens after that, but I think shortly after that, Jake Gyllenhaal's character comes and like finds him at the house, and he has to go pretend like he's been drinking at the house or whatever. But gosh, what happens after that? After that is also when Jake Gyllenhaal gets that call, you know, to go, you know, blah blah blah. And I don't think I don't think I just watched this movie and I don't even remember. I don't think Hugh Jackman goes and tortures that kid again after that, after he prays or whatever. And then also the second time that I remember him praying was when he's in the hole and he finds the red whistle that is like the thing through the whole movie, and he's like just praying that his daughter's okay. Anyways, these two scenes were interesting to me because one, like I said, I didn't even know he was religious, and two, after both these scenes, I felt like good things happened. Do you know, like one, like I said, the first scene, the cop comes, stops the torture, honestly. And then he gets a call that further like lets the case keep going. You know, the lady saw the guy at the clothing store buying more kids' clothes or whatever. He goes and confronts him. He's a piece of the puzzle, you know. And I'm don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that kid does not get tortured again in that shower after that. Tell me if you remember. I'm not gonna go back and rewatch it right now. And then the second time, he prays while he's in the hole, and then his daughter is saved because Jake Gyllenhaal once again comes and he rescues her as she's being like poisoned to death or whatever. We never really, I don't think we ever find out what is being injected to her arm, but it's probably something that's gonna kill her. And so yeah, and his daughter, it ends up being saved. So I really like that actually. It's interesting imagining like Jake Gyllenhaal being like divine intervention, like an angel coming in to like stop Hugh Jackman, because if you remember from watching the movie, first of all, for me, Jake Gyllenhaal, he was great in the movie, and as a detective, he was okay. He was moving a bit slow for me, but at the same time, it's really realistic. But anyways, I remember early on in the movie, he's telling Hugh Jackman, he's like, this guy Alex, that's Paul Dano's character. He's like, this is not the kid. This kid is innocent. I know this kid is innocent. And he, you know, he tries to, you know, humor Jackman. And like I said, I'm watching the movie thinking like, no, he is guilty because of my really warped memory. And but he was innocent. And it's interesting because like if Jake Gyllenhaal is divine intervention in this movie, like just like an angel, you know, he was right about the kid. You know, he wasn't always on time, but he did help a lot, just in general, keeping everybody safe, and still like he wasn't like a bad guy. Like even his communication style was pretty sensitive, while still trying to get to the bottom of the point and be assertive. While still trying to get to the bottom of everything and be assertive. Even with the Bobby Taylor guy, the one who drew all the mazes over his thing, you know, he was rough with him, but he was still patient enough to let him draw his mazes. I mean, he didn't really have a choice. But I just feel like these are considered to be the worst of the worst people, people who hurt children, right? But something about Jake Jake's character in the movie had, so I felt like just watching it for me. I'm watching it with my eyes. I felt like there was some kind of semblance of compassion in that, in how he treated these people who were victims, who turned out to be victims themselves, you know? And honestly, I want to move real quick to Bobby Taylor's character. His character was super interesting because I didn't really understand what he was doing. I'm assuming that he was just traumatized because I think that they were drinking the electric Kool-Aid acid test or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why also Paul Dano's and Bobby Taylor's characters were kind of like they seem developmentally delayed, and it's got to be because they've been fed that juice. But I think with Bobby Taylor, he escaped or he got away. I'm not really sure. They never there was like these journals in his boxes. One of them said something like, if you finish all of these mazes you can go. And then we see that like sticky note that's on Joy's. She's the little black girl that got kidnapped. Her flashback shows the sticky note that says like the same thing, you finish these mazes you can go. So I'm not sure if the people, like the main kidnappers, the old lady and man's dead, I'm not sure if that was like part of their spiel, like, oh, if you finish this, you can go. Did they really let them go and then like hunted them down and killed them? Or like they like actually let them go? And then maybe the kids didn't like remember where they came from because of all the drugs they took. I don't know. I feel like that was not, I feel like that wasn't explained enough why Joy was able to go and like, and Bobby was also, I'm not sure if they genuinely escaped or they were let go because yeah, I don't really remember. But so anyways, Bobby left, right? Bobby was like out on his own as an adult now, and you know, he's obsessed with the mazes. He's drawn them all over his houses. He's got I don't understand if he's like reenacting the crimes. Like he clearly was there long enough to see that that guy was like digging holes maybe and burying the bodies. I don't understand what he was doing. I don't understand. And maybe that was just like a coping mechanism for him. When I first watched it, I was like, oh, is he practicing? You know, like why is he doing this? That's a big question mark for me. There was one other small detail this is just, you know, scattered thoughts, but Jake Gyllenhaal is becoming like more focused on Hugh Jackman's character because Alex has gone missing and he's kind of following him around and he's like Googling him or something or whatever at work. And I'm looking at the articles. All right. I always do that in movies because I love lore. And if they do it right, you can get some lore in the background every now and then. He's looking up his dad, who was like a guardsman or something in the past. And it said that he committed soy sauce. Okay, he ended himself. That's what it says in the article, and it says that the mom and his teenage son found him, but he didn't leave a note. And I was like, oh, immediately I'm thinking this guy was abusive, and Hugh Jackman probably killed his own dad. I really think that happened, and while because Hugh Jackman was a little comfortable, beating up Alex, Paul Dano's character, and in the basement we see that he has lye, right? So he said that he used it to bury their dog, but also he could have been planning to, you know, to finish up Alex there and not like, I mean, it's not like he could do that and then set him free and not go to jail. So that could have been a possibility. I'm just saying, like, I speculate that based on that tiny article, potentially Hugh Jackman's character could have done that to his dad and then, you know, just kind of been hardened, which is why he was, I mean, it was really effortless for him. I feel like definitely losing a kid, especially like this, terrifying, like, could change you, but he was really prepared. I mean, also he was a survivalist, but yeah, I don't know. That's just a little theory that I haven't heard anyone really talk about. But then again, I haven't looked up anything for this movie, so maybe somebody already pointed that out. But yeah, this is definitely a movie that I would rewatch again. It's kind of frustrating. The end is frustrating. I mean, we hear him whistling and Jake Gyllenhaal acting like he's hallucinating, but then I feel like he hears it. He's gonna go to jail, most likely, 100%, for what he did. But I really, in my mind, I want to believe that Jake Gyllenhaal got him out of that hole so that he could at least reunite with his family and they can communicate while he's incarcerated. That's my happy ending for this movie. So now I'm gonna go and I just want to talk about the actors that stood out to me. So we'll start with Viola Davis here, the lovely Viola Davis. She's probably like my favorite actress next to Halle Berry. Halle Berry became one of my favorite actresses because of the movie Gothica. I love that movie. Okay, go see it if you haven't seen it. Anyways, she doesn't really have her and Terrence Howard. Their roles are small, significant. You know, they're the other parents whose kid was missing, and I feel like very great acting. We get to see a lot of different versions of grief in this movie, which is also, I just thought this was great. Like, it's very realistic that not everybody's gonna have the same demeanor when trauma happens. And I love to see that happen. It's frustrating. It's super frustrating because there's certain types of trauma, or there's certain types of grief that activate my flight or fight, because I'm a very hands-on person. So when people shut down, it's hard for me. But I learned to be patient. Anyways, let's move on from me. Viola Davis is one of the shutdown characters, but she doesn't do it in a way that I find annoying. Okay, because I want to be sensitive to these people. But what I like is like this whole movie takes place during Thanksgiving, and it's stretched out over a week. So Thanksgiving, and then like 6 days, maybe 7 days after Thanksgiving. And whenever we're at her house, there's like the dishes are still everywhere. Like the food from Thanksgiving is still everywhere. And I really like that because I think that's realistic. Because both her and her husband, they're not trying to clean up right now. You know, like this is shocking. Anyway, she doesn't have a large role, but I felt like she was very sweet. That's the vibe I got. She was very sweet in this role. There is a point where, you know, she finds out that uh Hugh Jackman is uh her and her husband, or I mean, Hugh Jackman convinces Terrence Howard to kind of help him torture this kid, and she wants to go and see him. And I think this is also very realistic. She tries to like play to him as like a mother, you know, like a play to his like compassion and whatever. And he's like asking her to help him, and then it kind of doesn't go well. But I think everything was so realistic. She didn't want her husband to do it, but she wasn't mad at him. I mean, maybe she was. We didn't see that scene. She was more mad at Hugh Jackman because her husband's kind of like a sweet guy. Also, you know, these people don't come out. They don't come off as like confrontational like that. And I really like this. I really like this dynamic. Anyways, and but she's still cool, okay? And that she's like, oh, we're not gonna help Hugh Jackman. We're not gonna tell anybody either. We don't even know that that's happening. Anyways, I think that's really heavy, and I think that shows their loyalty. Even Terrence Howard agreeing to help. I know you have to take into factor that the kids are missing. These people are not sleeping, they're not eating. You know, like losing a child is extremely traumatizing. Trauma will wreck your brain. So it's I don't know what to say. Everything that I've seen is just so realistic. I'm gonna stop saying that word. Okay, yeah. So like I said, Terrence Howard, another like just a subtle role. He's there, you know. You kind of understand. The movie isn't like it's like about them, but it's not like about them like that. I feel like he played more of a role where he's kind of trusting how things will work out. Sure, he's helping to look for his daughter. You know, they're doing the you know how people go walk in the woods with people? I forget what these things are called. Like search parties. They're doing search parties. He's trying. They're going to the candlelight vigils. He's lightweight helping his friend torture a guy to find answers. You know, he's a more passive character. I feel like he trusts the police a little bit more than Hugh Jackman's character, but he wasn't unlikable at all, you know? Because sometimes characters who are too passive can just, I mean, they just piss me off. But I feel like I said, him and Viola Davis, I feel like they were the perfect blend of whatever that was being portrayed on screen, and I didn't hate them, and that's important to me, to not hate fictional characters. Okay, yeah. One of my favorites in the movie, even though as a detective, eh, he was okay, you know? He was realistic, but it was frustrating because he was a human. But I feel like he really cared. Also, I had to look up after. I was like, does Jake Gyllenhaal have tics? Because he blinks when he's stressed in this movie. I really like that. You know, I like acting like that, where you give your character these individual things that are only for that character. So he blinks in a certain way, like when he's frustrated, and I can kind of relate to that. I don't have a lot to say. I think great performance. I like Jake Gyllenhaal movies. I don't know if he's problematic, but I've always liked him as an actor. I think he's great. Okay, we got Hugh. He was fantastic. I think he was really acting in this movie. He was very emotional. Do you know what I mean? Like he was very like in this role. He was this dad. He was this guy who was willing to do anything to get his daughter. Like one of my favorite scenes from him is like towards the end where Joy is talking to him because they forced this little girl to, you know, to be like, hey, can you please wake up? I know you were just escaped your killer, but please tell us where our daughter is. I understand. I completely understand. You know, the situation, you kind of have to push a little bit. And it was really cool, that scene, because the parents were kind of like, hey, not too much, but also like, we understand. So like, help. That's the vibe I got, because they weren't, they were trying to tell, you know, Hugh Jackman and his wife, like, huh? But they were also like letting it happen. You know what I'm talking about. Just watch the movie. You see exactly what I'm talking about. And I appreciated that as well, because that's such a subtle thing. That's like, that's so caring. That like, they just got their daughter back, but they know exactly what it's like to not have their daughter, to the point they're risking their daughter's mental health, right, and trauma, so that they can help their friends get their daughter back. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. This is, yeah. Oh yeah, so she's like, you were there. you know, because Joy remembers him being in that lady's house, that old lady's house, and he just like something like lit up in him, and he just left, and he like took his truck and like drove it over the grass, and like I just love that. I was like, this is such a great dad. Do everything possible, you know what I mean, for your kid. I love that. He does not gonna give up, and we need more people like him. Now, obviously, he could have used better judgment. His intuition was great. His intuition was great the entire movie. He just needed a different method. I feel like he could have got answers out of Alex if he really, I guess, believed his development, and you know how old he was developmentally, and like maybe like treated him like a child. He would have got maybe more clear answers. I and I feel like Paul Dano, he was taking those hits. I feel like at first when I was watching it, like I said, I thought he was the killer. I was like, wow, this guy's a sociopath. He knows pain. He knows how to receive and give pain. He's fine. He's fine. But I think the reason why it wasn't affecting him, why he was able to like do all of that without saying anything, is because he probably faced years of abuse already and seen so much of it. You know, that the guy, the priest guy, he said that that guy they found in the basement is the guy, right? He was the main kidnapping partner to his wife. He had the um labyrinth keychain necklace on his whatever body, right? He said he murdered 16 kids. So they said that Alex was the first one. He looked kind of young, but I don't know how long like they were doing that for. Did she say 26 years? What am I listening to? I don't know where I heard that from. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so Alex was like the first kid that they kidnapped. So he's probably seen so much, he's probably desensitized, you know? Like that's why obviously it does hurt him and it gets to him, especially the shower scenes. Anyways, I'm just saying I feel like that's why he didn't snap. Hugh Jackman's character, fantastic. You know, I really feel for him and whatever he went through in his own childhood. We didn't see the prequel. There's no prequel. But yeah, he was great in this movie. Okay, so here's Joy. I'm sorry that I could not find a picture post kidnapping. Okay, but like she was great also. Very small role, right? You don't see the kids a lot, but one thing in particular that stuck out to me, her and Anna, but mostly her. Well, her and Anna. Okay, like they were up in her room, Joy's room, when they came over for Thanksgiving, and they're like showing her. She's showing Anna her hamster. And it's so cute because it's just like so realistic. I feel like that scene didn't have any lines. I don't feel like that scene was scripted because like the hamster's running around and they're just responding to it in the most kid way possible. I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, so it's just like endearing seeing kids just be kids. Anyways, I thought she was really great. This actress, I can never remember her name. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna look it up. I don't feel like it. But I like this actress most of the time. She's in a lot of movies where she is a stressed out person. I don't think I've ever seen her in a movie where she was happy. But the movie I remember her the most in is Oculus. She plays the mom. Pretty sure this is her. And it's like it's that movie is terrifying, by the way. It's one of the scariest scary movies I've ever seen. She's in that. I'm pretty sure that's her. And in this, I found her very annoying. Now, like I said, there's different ways to present grief. A lot of people experience grief in different ways. She took some sleeping pills a lot in the movie, or some kind of drugs to relax and sleep in the bed a lot. That didn't bother me at all. In fact, I wish she did that the entire movie. It was just like at the end, I feel like she really bothered me. Like her husband was missing and she was saying that she missed him, and she was like telling Jake Gyllenhaal, you know, like, "Oh, I miss him, but when he comes back he has to go to jail, huh?" And I'm just like, I don't know what it was about it. But if my child was missing and then this is me, I'm talking, okay, she's obviously we're not the same person, but like if my child's missing and then a child comes back and my husband is gone, I feel like, I guess what bothers me is because the way she delivered her lines made it seem like, does she think her husband left? Like, oh, he left so that he wouldn't be charged with the, you know, the torture and kidnapping of Alex? Because that's the vibe I got when she delivered it, and that's what made me not like her. Because I was like, how could she possibly think that about her husband? There's no indication that that's actually what she thinks, but that's what my head is telling me. That she really thinks that he just took off so he wouldn't go to jail. She's like, well, he hasn't contacted me. That's like she's saying. She's like, he hasn't contacted me. Like, lady, your husband would absolutely never do that. He would never just leave you and the kids. How are you not standing by him? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyways, yeah, I didn't really like her character. She wasn't terrible. Sometimes this happens to me when I watch a movie. There's always one that I feel like, can you go sit somewhere else in the other room? I don't want to hear you speak. Like I said, I usually like her, so I don't know what it was. This lady is lame. This lady's lame. This is one of the kidnappers, right? This is like the main one. She still wants to kidnap and like, try to create demons out of people. I don't know. She was it's a good villain twist if you haven't seen the movie. I'm assuming you have since you watched this whole video. Okay? But like it's a good villain twist when she pulls out the gun. You're like, "Oh my gosh." You know? But she just kind of dry to me. I don't really like villains that are just like so cold that it's got to be done in a certain way for me to appreciate it. Because sometimes just like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't care about anything. Some people like that just aggravate me, anyways. I didn't like when she's injecting the kid to give her her last hurrah, and the cop comes in, right? Jake Gyllenhaal comes in. He's like, "Put your hands up," blah, and then she's like, "Bury me, don't cremate me, don't bury me in a box." And I was like, I hope they bury you in 10 boxes. It's so annoying. When she turns around and tries to like shoot it out or whatever, like kind of, knowing that she's gonna, you know, hit the floor. For me, I feel like it's not like I'm reading so much into this. Okay, because fiction to me is always based on reality and real people, and I always know people like this in real life that I see in movies. But like, I just feel like, does she think she's cool? She thinks that she's a cool like Bonnie and Clyde type. She's not cool, and I don't want her. I don't want her to think that she's cool. So fictional lady, if you're watching in another universe, you're not cool, lady. But yeah, overall, the acting was okay. 5 out of 10 for her. 5 out of 10. Well, I think that's all I have to say about the movie Prisoners. It's a great movie. Like I said, it's on Netflix if you want to watch it. Even though I spoiled the entire movie, basically, highly recommend. I feel like most true crime buffs will enjoy this. This movie made me want to watch Zodiac. If you haven't seen that, Jake Gyllenhaal, I'm pretty sure he's also in the movie. That is another fantastic movie. There's a scene in that movie that is literally one of the most terrifying scenes ever, ever. I love it. And anybody who knows me is forced to watch that movie for that scene. The movie is like 3 hours. It's so good. Maybe I'll talk about it another time. But if you like listening to somebody talk about stuff, random things, you never know what I'm going to talk about, feel free to subscribe. If you like me talking about movies, feel free to like this video. I would appreciate it. If there's anything you want me to check out, I'm open to that. But I want to let you know, I don't like a lot of stuff. And if I check out something you don't like, I don't want you to get your feelings hurt. I hope and pray that you never take it personally. If you like listening to someone talk and play games, I also do that on my channel Saru. It's linked below. Thanks for watching, and most importantly to me, thanks for listening. Goodbye!